Hello? Hi. Once upon a time, there was a billionaire who was spending $2 million a year to reverse his age. He assumed that no one else on the planet was doing what he was doing. So he created a competition and crowned himself #1 in the world. And this worked out really well for him until this happened. This is the Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard. This is his competition. And that's me circled there in red as #6. And that's the billionaire beneath me as #7. My story. I wasn't chasing fame or competition. In fact, I didn't even know there was a competition when I signed up for this. I was just simply following my own journey of self-optimization, which began in earnest back in 2012. I was doing all kinds of advanced blood labs, MRIs, ultrasound, every type of test that I could to validate my journey and to make sure that what I was doing was putting me in the right direction. And from what I could tell, I was doing well. I was also doing a lot of advanced biohacking. I would do hyperbaric oxygen, sauna, tons of supplements, every type of gadget and tool available. And I could see changes in my biomarkers that were modest, but it wasn't getting the changes that I was really expecting. And so it caused me to go back and start readdressing the fundamentals. So what are the fundamentals? The fundamentals are what I like to call the real levers of longevity. They are avoiding or eliminating toxic exposures, proper nutrition, exercise and movement, restorative sleep, and reducing stress and practicing gratitude. So let's take these one by one. Avoiding toxins. I don't know how it is necessarily here in China, but in the US, we are constantly being bombarded with toxic exposures in our environment, in our air, our water, our soil. It's in our food. Even it's in our personal care products, like shampoos and toothpaste, deodorant. It's pretty much everywhere. It's in our household products. And so avoiding toxins is key because our bodies are having to work very hard to clear these and to repair the DNA damage that occurs from the toxic exposures. Proper nutrition. So proper nutrition is really important. Okay, so this involves preset meal planning for maximum nutritional density, selecting whole, real foods that are regenerative versus degenerative. Again, my pace of aging score improved dramatically when I removed all toxins from my diet or from my environment and began eating these very staples that you see right here. Exercise and movement. There are people right now who are working on what they call exercise in a pill, or peptides that can mimic the effects of what exercise does for us. But this is very short-sighted because of all the many good things that exercise does for us, the one very important thing that you'll never get from a pill or from an injection is lymphatic flow to remove cellular waste. Think of it this way. Our cells are living creatures, and as living creatures, they have to ingest nutrients, and they have to excrete their waste. So nutrients come to the cell from the bloodstream and get delivered into the interstitial fluid that surrounds the cell. And then the cell absorbs the nutrients through their membrane so that they can do their function and survive. Likewise, when they excrete their waste, it goes out their membrane into this very same interstitial fluid, and it's attached to the lymph system. But the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like blood has the heart. So the only way that lymph moves through the body is either through manual massage or muscle movement, muscle contraction. So this is very important because if we're not moving all day long, every day, then the cells in that area of our body that isn't being moved are basically stewing in their own waste, right? Sounds pretty disgusting, but that's basically what's going on. The more and more toxins that build up, this blocks the ability to get nutrients into the cell. So we're sort of starving ourselves and poisoning ourselves at the same time. And the cells of our body communicate to each other and other organs through basically messenger molecules. And if we have too much waste building up, these signaling molecules cannot get through. And so that confuses the body. It loses coordination, right? This is a big problem. Restorative and regenerative sleep. Again, thank you. Bless you. This is super important because of all the great things that restorative sleep does for us, memory consolidation and such, the brain does not have a muscle that it can contract to clear its waste. So the brain itself contracts during deep sleep to force all of the waste through the lymphatic system. And so this, of course, helps keep our brains clean and helps prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, all of the known diseases of cognition. But not just the brain, the entire body itself gets repaired and rejuvenated while we sleep. So if you are shorting yourself on deep sleep or restorative sleep, you're shorting your possibility for your body to do its own repair, which makes you older. It actually increases your pace of aging. Reducing stress and practicing gratitude. In 2012, I took a telomere test and found out that I had the telomeres of a 68-year-old, and I had just turned 50. And the reason for this was I was shortening my lifespan with too much stress. Kind of like public speaking is causing me stress right now. I had, in my life at that time, I was training for my first marathon. I was a very stressful and unfulfilling job. I was also the sole caretaker for my parents who were battling cancer, and I had to move back in with them to take care of them. That was incredibly stressful. I also had a job loss at the time and a bad relationship breakup. So just about everything in my life was stressful. And that impacted my pace of aging and my epigenetic age scores. So how did I take care of that? Well, I had to get back to my yoga and meditation practice, so that helped greatly. But reframing and basically finding peace was the key. The reframing came by accident. I was running one day, and I was running by a hospital, and I was looking up, doing a thought experiment, looking up at the windows and imagining that I was a patient in one of those beds. And all I could do was look out the window. And I imagined myself looking at the guy who was out in the street running and wishing that I could be that guy. And it occurred to me in that moment, I am that guy. And this chore of running that I hated wasn't a chore at all. It was a blessing because I had the ability to run. I didn't have to run. I get to run. And that mindset shift changed everything for me. So applying that to running, applying that to my job, applying that to caretaking, applying it to life made all of the difference in the world and very much helped my scores for the Rejuvenation Olympics and my pace of aging scores. So, in summary, you can't biohack your way out of toxic exposures, a bad diet, a sedentary lifestyle, poor sleep habits, or chronic stress. You need to lock in the fundamentals. Very important. Being comfortable in old age is great, but being capable is better. You need to move every day, move often. But above all, relax and be grateful for everything because your everythings are a gift. The billionaire spent $2 million a year to slow his aging, but myself and other people on the Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard did it by practicing these fundamentals, and so can you. So your call to action this week is to eliminate just one toxin in your life. Add one extra vegetable. Set a timer to move every so often. Sleep 1 hour more or just 1 hour better. Reflect on just one gratitude because your healthy aging begins today. That's it.
我想问一下他关于补剂这方面的一个设计，因为我知道他吃的补剂比较不是那么特别多，然后呢，但是很管用，所以我想请教一下关于吃补剂这个板块，因为可能中国现在刚刚开始吃补剂，然后呢，我最多的时候吃90种，也是跟那个 Bryan Johnson 开始吃的，但是他现在就是反而发现那么多没什么用，但我就想他是吃100种，我学他吃100种，完了现在我见到你了，我觉得你可能吃的比较少，我想学你再减少点儿。之前吃的我每天早上起来吃都饱了都。啊。
I'm almost embarrassed to say that I'm taking close to 200 supplements now. Yeah. I'm waiting for that to sink in across the room. Yeah, people are very concerned that supplements can ruin your liver or your kidneys. And it's true. If you're not careful with what you're taking, you can damage yourself. You can really hurt yourself. I take a lot of supplements that are actually restorative and regenerative to my liver and my kidneys. And I blood test every month, so I'm not guessing. I'm actually testing, so I know that everything I'm doing is working well for me. And yeah, I have a lot of favorites, but it's very hard to pick favorites out of 200.
好的，我们再下一个问题。OK。
I saw you didn't do too much calorie restrictions, right?
Right.
From myself through introduction. Actually, I'm from Supermat Hospital. Is there any alternatives to like boosting your metabolism rate in another way after the calorie didn't too much restriction of a calorie?
I'm not intentionally caloric restricted, but I tend to eat in such a short time frame window that I'm doing a lot of intermittent fasting. So for instance, I might start eating at 12:30 in the afternoon, and I'll be done with dinner by 5:30 at the latest. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but.
I mean the excessive calorie intake.
Oh.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, it's funny because when I'm with friends, when I go to restaurants, I eat like a horse. I eat very low calorie, and so it doesn't seem to stick. I'm very low carb. I shouldn't say low calorie, low carbohydrate.
So intensively you are taking less calorie during the feast.
Yes.
Okay.
Feast and famine.
Okay, thanks.
So when I go to restaurants, I ate a lot, and I finish everyone else's plate, too. So.
Thank you. Hey, Dave. I have a question about your diet. It's low carb, right? How about the protein? Is it low protein or high protein? Because you have exercise.
Yeah, I do very high protein. I'm in run season right now, and when I'm training I'm doing a half marathon next month.
Okay.
And I find that I don't have enough body fat to support my running, and so I tend to lose a lot of muscle.
All right.
Right now, I'm down 10 pounds from what I normally am in muscle. So I'm continuing to do lots of protein, and I'm having to add carbohydrates back into my diet.
How about fat? Which kind of fat you?
Mainly olives, olive oil, some macadamia nuts, but avocados.
Right.
So monounsaturated mostly.
Okay. And you tried HBO chamber and
Yes.
the red light therapy and
Absolutely.
cold therapy. Which one do you think is the most effective or you enjoy the most?
I enjoy sauna the most.
Oh, so yeah.
So, but of The hyperbaric is very comfortable. The chambers that I go to are
Right.
clear tubes,
Right.
so you don't feel claustrophobic, and I get to watch Netflix while I'm laying in there. So it's
How do you do the cold therapy? Just the cold water shower or?
yeah. I had a cold plunge in my backyard, which is
Oh, really?
it's a 7-foot chest freezer that I bought. And I caulked in the inner linings. I learned how to do it on the internet.
Okay.
But it wasn't very practical because it doesn't have a means to get clean.
Okay.
So I sweat a lot. I use a lot of lotions for my skin, and going in there, it just creates oil slick. It gets dirty.
Okay.
So it was more practical for me just to do cold showers.
Okay. That's easy. Thank you. Yeah.
还有人要提问吗？好，后面。
您好，方便介绍一下，就刚才您说的，就是您会做一些肝脏方面的补充剂，那具体都是哪一些呢？能给我们介绍一下吗？谢谢。
That's great. I knew somebody was going to ask me that, but I was not prepared for the answer. You've stumped me. Right offhand, I could not think of the answer for that. That's kind of embarrassing, but of 200 supplements, I lose track sometimes of what each one does. I do all the investigation ahead of time, and then I don't think about it anymore. In fact, it's the way I do all of my routines. I do the work, automate the process, and then I just forget about it and go about the rest of my life.
还有提问吗？我们还有一点时间，还可以现场提问。
先回答第一位先生提的一个问题，就是100种补剂也好，200种补剂也好，我个人的一个观点跟大家分享一下哈。就是其实你会发现有一些补剂啊，它跟我们人体自身合成的一些营养元素是相类似的。所以呢，我们在精准干预自己补剂的时候呢，我们可以去先了解一下你们吃的那些补剂跟我们自身人体合成的那些营养元素之间是否有一些共通的地方。如果存在这些共通的地方的话呢，通过精准干预以后，其实是可以剔除掉的。这个经验，其实我现在也觉得可以分享给 Dave， 然后呢，他可以适当的把他的那种200种可以缩减一下，哈，这个是第一个。第二个呢是，我想问一下，就是如果你也有200万，跟第7名一样的话，你会做一些什么觉得更可行的一些事情？谢谢。
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, there's a whole lot more tests I would do. I would probably do a lot more plasmapheresis. It's just very expensive where I live, and I can't afford that. Most of the good treatments are quite expensive. So plasmapheresis, I think, would be the number one that I would do more often. Oh, by the way, milk thistle and Tudka are two of the supplements to answer his question. It took me a few minutes to think of that, but two of several. Joy?
Yes, you mentioned that you are using AI to help you streamline your regimen. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, gosh, okay. That's going down a rabbit hole, but sure, why not? I've recently redone my entire supplement protocol. From the way I had it set before, it was set for convenience, not necessarily the most optimal way. I had AM supplements and PM supplements, and that was the way I divided them up. Now I've been using several different AIs. I've been using ChatGPT, Grok, Perplexity, Claude, Google Gemini, and I'm pretty much asking them all the same questions and comparing the answers that I get from each of them, and then pitting them against each other if they disagree. But they've been helping me to build a whole new supplement program that's much more efficient, because the way I was doing it before, there were conflicts for mechanism of action and conflicts for absorption. And so the AIs have helped me to understand that various minerals have to be taken away from each other, otherwise they compete. And polyphenols and catechins have to be taken away from minerals for the same reason. I also had them help me to determine which supplements are stimulative and which ones are sedative, so that I have them better divided in AM and PM doses. And before I was doing mTOR inducers in the morning and autophagy inducers in the evening, which was much too rapid of a turnaround. So now I'm doing mTOR inducing supplements during the week, so 5 days on, and then the weekend is when I'm doing my autophagy and cleanup. So that's a little better of a cycle than I was doing before. And the other thing that AI has really helped with is many supplements have to be taken on an empty stomach. Some have to be taken with food. Some have to be taken with fat. So the initial program that AI had set up for me involved 20 different dosing times throughout the day, which was absolutely not feasible, right? So we had to go back and do some rework and came up with, I think it's about 6 dosing times throughout the day, which is still kind of extensive, but at least, there's first thing in the morning when I wake up, there's some pre-workout supplements that I take, there's breakfast supplements, there's some afternoon supplements, then there's some dinner supplements, and then there's bedtime supplements. So that's much easier to deal with than it was before. And now this is at least scientifically validated. I was able to back my dosages down of many of the supplements I'm taking because they're not competing with each other anymore. And I'm also continuing now to change my supplementation to move my blood markers not just into the reference range for someone my age, but into the optimal range for a healthy 18 to 25-year-old athlete. And I was doing that on my own and doing quite well, but on my own, I could only handle the coordination of maybe 3, 4 supplements or markers at a time. But with AI, I can address all of my supplements, all of my markers at the same time. So it's empowering me to be a lot better with the whole process.
Okay, thank you for the sharing. 我们再次以热烈的掌声，时间有限啊，我们提问结束了。Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.